join the board, sounds like. So
Who? Then you go.
Amy's dog.
Okay, he was tilting at windmills, so. Of course, I say that to my kids and they look at me like, huh? No idea what that quote means. Don Quixote children, right?
Okay, we're now live on YouTube. Oh, you're muted, Mary.
Love your sweatshirt.
Thank you. I was just going to say, talking about references that kids don't know, Maisie was trying to write down an order for a Shirley Temple,
Oh,
and she wrote it S-U-R-L-E,
yeah,
S-U-R-E-L-Y. Because why would she know who Shirley Temple was, let
That's
alone
right.
that there was a drink named after her?
And the name Shirley is not very popular either.
Exactly. So her only point of reference was the word Shirley.
It's also funny when you have to like tell kids, you're like, oh, Shirley is spelled a different way. And then they're like, no, but Shirley is spelled this way.
Yeah.
And you're both right.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
that's like that weird thing about English. Um, I'll text her. Sam has joined us in the audience. So hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Welcome.
Hello,
Thank
Sam.
you.
I was reminded to we have to I don't want to say I've scolded, but we have to say the time the meeting was called to order specifically in the recording, and we also have to say the date of the minutes you guys are approving so that we can have that as part of the record too. For our minute taker, who is very brought it up in a very kind way, but I'm supposed to remind you all. Uh,
So who again are we waiting for at this point?
for Janet.
Just for Janet. Okay.
Yeah, Marguerite and Jane both had conflicts today.
All right.
So it's a lean bunch. And then if Janet doesn't come on, probably within 10 minutes, we'll probably call it and then just not have the meeting. So
Because we won't have a quorum.
correct. So
Yeah.
I just texted Janet and I said I also resent her all the info. Yeah, she's coming on, she said. So she said, I think the computer's giving her trouble. Yeah, but it's just been after not having a couple winters with no snow and not ice like this, I don't, it's really just kicking my butt. I'll tell you that.
We've lived in this house for a long time, and I've never had as messy a driveway as I have right now. And this is after it was shoveled clean, but all the moisture that came down and then froze. I could probably put on skates and
Yeah.
twirl around my own driveway. And it's just horrible.
Yeah,
And
my dad went to buy salt and he went to 3 different places and they were out of it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we even went to the transfer station shortly before the storm and it was pretty much down to nothing. So, which makes sense, but
Hey, when you get the sand there, Amy, is it all frozen up? Do you have to break it up
I don't know. I
at the
send
transfer
them.
station?
I don't know. I don't go. They do.
Oh,
Yeah. But even that's not helping. I mean, when it's an inch of ice, it's really,
no, and if we get a little dusting of snow tomorrow, it's going to be even more dangerous.
well, it looks like they're saying south of us, hopefully, but
Yeah, it's supposed to move to Cape Cod, is what the current. Not that I'm like obsessively checking the forecast
I
or
know.
anything.
Well, your commute makes it vital to know what's going on.
It's been pretty equivalent. Like when it's bad here, it's bad in New Hampshire and vice versa. I mean, like maybe I get like half an inch more than you guys. But I'm Southern New Hampshire. I'm
Yeah.
not like deep in, so.
At least it was a good snow for the school vacation week, which is also the ski vacation week for a lot of people, so.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, we have some events going on here, but it was unusually quiet yesterday, and I think a lot of our older residents just
No, I wouldn't go
were
out.
concerned about the ice. And in a way, I'm sort of glad that they didn't come, but we did catch up on a lot of stuff yesterday, so
Good.
we'll take advantage of it when it's quiet. But it's odd for a vacation week. That's usually, even in February, that's not usually the case for us. It's usually busier. So I think like today, in the next 2 days, we're gonna get hit. So we'll see.
Any of your staff have commuting difficulties? I'm thinking of Mariana coming in from Newton.
No, I did let her, she ended up leaving a little early yesterday just because I was worried about the ice too. But it was fine. I check in with them. It's Kim, Mariana, and I all live the farthest away. So
Yeah. So are we on live yet?
Yeah,
we're live on YouTube. We're just waiting for Janet. She said she did respond. She said she'll be in as soon as she can in a few minutes. I will preface it with I still don't have a draft of contract for you guys, but I have worked on it. So I'll talk a little bit about that. It's mainly just getting examples and starting to put together things I want to talk to you guys about when we get there. But
Are you at
it's
the point
so
where you talked to town council yet?
no, I think so. Here's the thing. I think you guys talk to Labor Council.
Is that how it works?
I think you should designate a representative to do it so that you, because otherwise, if all of you wanted to talk to Labor Council, you'd have to do it in a public meeting, and then you'd have to talk about it. I think when we go into negotiations, this might be the first time in my history as director the board has gone into executive session. You're allowed to go into executive session to do contract negotiations, so we
So
can do that.
are you prohibited for contacting town council directly?
No, I can, but it's more like I think you guys I could also talk to Labor Council too. I don't know if that's like I don't know the rules. I'm learning all of them, to be honest. Because I've never done this before. So I'm probably not doing it right. I'll tell you that. But I think it's important for you all to get anything you agree to with me reviewed by council. I think that's important. So I'll say that.
there's Janet.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Hmm.
We're just hanging out. It's nice to
Jane
see you.
is coming. I talked to her last night.
Oh, she is.
She said she would see me here at this meeting.
Oh, I spoke with her yesterday, Janet. She said she was not.
Oh, but then she was talking to Marguerite last night and Marguerite couldn't come for some reason.
Yeah.
This is in the middle of a book group, so she wasn't giving me details, but so I
Okay.
thought she was coming. No?
No, but
Text
I
her?
will yeah, we can text her.
I'll text her. Uh, I mean, or did she ask somebody to chair the meeting?
Well, since no one is here, I checked on that.
Yeah.
Now that there's four of you, one of you can call the meeting to order. And then once that happens, amongst the four of you, you can decide if somebody would like to chair the meeting.
I
So
just-
is there a motion to call the meeting to order
I
at
motion.
11:10 a.m.?
Somebody
Okay.
second.
I'll
So
second.
moved.
Okay. Um,
So the meeting has been called to order are you recording this?
yep, we're
Yeah,
live on YouTube right now
11:09.
too. Yeah.
11:09 on February 19th, Mariana.
And then among the four of you, if Jane comes in, she can take over, but among the four of you, would somebody like to volunteer to chair the meeting?
I'm happy to do it, but if somebody else wants to do it, have at
Nope.
it.
Go for it, Amy.
All right, let's get it
Okay.
moving. So Janet can get back to the beat.
Shh. I can get back to I know it's the first day where the temperature's over 80, but I've got another meeting at 1 o'clock, so.
Okay,
it'll be
so let's approve the minutes of the January 27th meeting. Anybody have any corrections? I'm gonna throw the dog
I
out.
have two corrections quick, which I'm not sure, they may have already been edited out. I'm sorry, I'm looking at a little bit later. Under the MPLCP grant. In the second line, grant program is just repeated twice. There's a duplicate of
Yeah.
it. And then the
That
only,
has, these edits have not been caught, so I
Okay.
am doing them right now.
great. And then the only other thing that I had was down under child safe policy.
Yep,
I think it should be and have it reviewed.
viewed, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a grammar check note as
There you
well,
go.
so
That's all.
good catches, Mary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So move.
And it's from January 27th.
Yeah,
Did we need to say that?
yep.
Okay.
So
So
David
moved.
moved.
No, the
Second.
minutes are from January 21st.
Yeah, you're right. So the file name says the 27th,
Okay.
because Ryan made a mistake. Mary is correct that the minutes are from January 21st. So
Okay.
this was to see if everyone was
Oh,
paying
Mary.
attention. All
Hey.
passed. Yeah,
Hey.
sorry
You
about
get a
that.
gold star.
Yes.
Okay. So a motion to approve the minutes as amended from January 21st, 2025.
So
David,
move.
All in favor?
yes,
Tinty,
Daphne,
aye.
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 Amy, I.
Yeah.
Ekberg, aye.
Mary, did you say Tinty?
Oh, I
aye?
did, but I'll say it again. Tinty, aye.
Just to be sure.
Yep.
Right, you get director's report, Ryan? Is that next?
Yeah, we can do that. Sorry, I had many windows open, so I'm just bringing it up now. Apologies. I've moved to the minutes, so. Any questions? I always like to start with any questions you guys might have. Any questions about the director's report? I'm sorry it was so late this month.
My only question is that when we get to it, I would love to know a little bit more about the general Article 1 presentation.
Yeah,
And well, I mean, I've attended town meeting. I've often been there for the awarding of the Peggy Tuttle Award, but
Mhm.
assuming that the Article 1 presentation is just like a library update that happens at the beginning of the meeting. Okay. That's
So
all.
generally, I like to let people know what's going on with the library. So we've done that, I think, for the last 9 years. We've done some version of it. The moderator isn't, I would say, overly enthusiastic about people doing large scale presentations during Article 1. Sometimes award presentations are done prior to the meeting starting. So
That-
people are in the
yeah.
hall. So it may not be an Article 1 presentation. But I think because I have to get up and present the award anyway, there is an opportunity to give a quick update about the library. I think before it was like it can't exceed 5 minutes. I think what he's asking for people is to do like a 1 to 3 minute presentation. To be honest, I don't ever need a lot of time. I usually like to highlight if there's like a new budget initiative or if there's like a capital project we're doing. Like I was able to talk about the carpets when we were trying to advocate for that. So the director's report notes this, but because our focus was on the MPLCP grant program, because that's now not happening, because we're caught up with capital projects for the first time in my tenure, right? And honestly, we didn't really have a new budget initiative this year. I think it's good to highlight the Library Speaker Consortium because people still know about that. And if the board is amenable, I think by the time town meeting comes around, there may be information that's worth sharing from the Friends because they are actively looking at doing some fundraisers, which I think could use a plug, if that's okay. But honestly, that just helps give me content.
Well, so I had a follow-up question about that, which was at last year's meeting, the town approved that I'm gonna forget the name of it, but it was the amount of money that allowed you to go ahead and do like a strategic building plan,
Yeah,
right? Which was a prerequisite for the application. So my question to you is, does that money I know that money doesn't get spent now. Does it go directly back to the town or does it get held in case we apply again?
it goes back to
It goes back to the town.
the amount that was authorized was
Yep.
$100,000 from the
Right.
town.
Right.
That does get released back to the town now.
So I'm wondering, just in an era where there is a lot of money being approved or asked for, if it isn't an opportunity to just remind everybody, thank you for that. It's now going back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know
so
if that's advantageous or not.
Yeah, so I think part of this was I was thinking about how to, even though it's sort of out there and there's been a blog post about it, is that maybe it would be good to update the public on thank you for your support up until this point. Unfortunately, we were not accepted into the program. And then I could say this does allow us to release the money that was authorized back. I think in March, I might get a sense because hopefully I'll have a draft of the presentation I can have you guys look at, and it'll be so quick. I'm even willing to do a quick run through. I've done that in previous board meetings. I think the past couple years I haven't really done it. But what I think maybe the verbiage would be good to run by you guys for that slide specifically, because I would write, we're intending to reapply. I would say based on the discussion in the January meeting, I don't know, I don't want to misrepresent what the board would like me to do, if that makes sense. So I don't want to say our intention is to reapply when there might be some hesitation to do that. Does that make sense? So I could just not mention reapplying. I do think that if we do reapply when the grant program opens up again, we'll have to do the same process where we go to a town meeting initially and we reauthorize funding. So I don't know if we want to tell this town meeting audience that.
I would go ahead and mention that we will consider reapplying when the program opens up, depending on parameters or, whatever, because that's the first question I get from people.
Yeah.
Are you going to go
I
ahead
have-
with it anyway? No. Are you going to reapply? Yes, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I've gotten that question a lot too, Janet, as I've been speaking with people or they've been asking me about it. And it does seem like there is community interest in having us reapply, but we have not polled the general public on this. I would say we did get a pretty fair amount of support at the town meeting when this was first authorized. So there is probably an appetite to reapply. That's just what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But again, maybe it was because it was new information when the board met in January. We have had a little bit of time to maybe digest the information now. I think at least once it's worth trying again.
I think it also depends where we stand on all the other projects that are potential in town, because if they all are already heading to being done, I'm not sure we'll get the votes to do the renovations, but
Yeah, so maybe it's Sorry, but maybe it's worth saying just like we intend at this point in time to reapply, something like that. Sorry, Janet.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in 2 years, maybe we wouldn't, but if it's in 5 years that the program opens up again, I mean, I'd say, we don't know what the future holds and when
It's going to open, yeah.
when it's going to open and what the process would be at that point. But, we're certainly planning on looking at it.
For sure.
Mm.
Okay. I can work with that.
I'm sure.
But I just think it would be nice, my sort of the things I would kind of target, I think, are some things we've been asked about in previous advisory sessions that we haven't been asked about in a couple of years. But I think noting some of our database statistics, in particular, how many people are using the consumer reports platform. That's been pretty impressive, I think, to me in the past few years. And then also highlighting some program numbers because I like to do that. And then we usually show great pictures of our programs that people enjoy. So that's kind of like the target areas, if that makes sense. And then, that it's a couple things, but I'll work on it and I'll draft something for you guys for the next meeting. That's okay. If you have suggestions, feel free to reach out to me one-on-one. I'm happy to do any feedback. I don't know if you'd like me to reach out to Kim Regan. To be honest, I focused on the presentation last year, and Mariana kind of worked with Kim on the handout. So we might kind of do that again, if that's okay with all of you. But I'm happy to help them and work with them. I have a little bit more time now to do that this year. So. But do you want to do a handout as well? I think we should.
If you think it's
Like
useful.
handouts.
Yeah. Just add to the pile. Town meeting table, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of exhibit stuff. So I was saying that I was happy that somebody reached out about doing the Ramadan exhibit again because I really liked that last year. And, at a time when you're seeing DEI going away a lot of places. It's nice to highlight some of our cultural neighbors. I will say the same educator is working with local residents in multiple towns to do this at a few different libraries. So the fact that she also wants to do a program, I think is great. So I'm trying to connect her with Kim so they can kind of do something on a weekend because I think that would get the most attendance. But it's all schedule dependent. We're doing a lot, to tell you the truth, in March. So trying to find openings in our schedule is a challenge. So I'm
Good
hopeful
thing
that
though,
they
right?
can. There's worse things to be than busy. I'll say that. So, but it's just it's we are when people want to do programs here, it's going to be difficult just because we're doing so much. Like I think every Wednesday night for the next 3 months is booked at this point. So um I'm also trying to like keep a little opening open for candidates night if we want to do that. Like it's in the back of my mind.
Okay.
So but I'm
Well, I'm a
avoiding
candidate.
Wednesdays
I'm
because
a
of school
candidate,
committee.
so can I do that? I suppose
I
it
don't
depends on whether I'm opposed.
I don't think there's any rule against it, Janet.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
It would be I think if you like participated as part of a panel discussion, maybe I could like MC the discussion, but maybe that's weird because I'm the director. So maybe we find someone else, just for
Question,
that part.
question
Yeah.
for when we know who's running, I guess.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
and then who knows? It could, like, we've always lucked out with there being contested elections. If there's no contested elections, do we even do a candidates night? Because that's been a
Right.
question in the past as well, is that
Yeah.
we could do like a meet the candidates event that's
Right.
similar, but then we might not have questions from the audience.
Right.
So, but we'll find out more as we go. I'm kind of looking at a Thursday evening just to prep you guys, only
Yeah.
because Wednesdays we've run into conflict with the school committee, and I really would like to involve the school committee, especially this year,
Yeah.
if there's any candidates for election. I think that's important. So
I would
I just
imagine
have a
there'll be
quick
a
question.
selectmen's race. Hmm?
Oh, I was just going to say, before we move off of events, I'm so excited for this year's Art and Bloom. I think it's going to be great. And so I wondered, you've listed the dates in here. Are you anticipating a reception for that, Ryan?
yeah, so the reception is I always forget because we don't do this every year too, and then I don't give a lot of information. I'm trying to like have you guys mark your calendars now because I
Yeah.
think it's also good to try to be there if you can. But the reception is always so they'll set up in the early part of the afternoon on the 10th. The reception will be that evening
Right.
because the flowers will never be in better shape than the day they bring them. Just to let you
Are we
know.
talking about April 10th?
It's April 10th and
Okay.
it's on starts at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
But the reception is also one of the longer events we do. So the exhibit hours are going to be at 5 and then it'll go till 8. So not every gardener will be here for the full 3 hours.
Right.
But they do kind of go all out with the catering and they get like people making food and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that tip will have, I think it'll be, if you can't come right at 5, come a little bit later is the
Mhm.
idea.
So I just have a quick follow-up question too. I realize I'm asking a lot of questions today.
It's okay.
With this, so this will be my first iteration of an Art and Bloom that I believe involves Trottier,
Yeah,
right? So are the artworks also on display here at the library?
correct. Yeah,
Amazing. And so it's to be assumed that all of those middle school artists and their parents will also be in attendance.
they're
Awesome.
invited.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
we do ask them to come. They're not just involving Trottier as well. Some of the artwork will be from Neary, I believe, as
Great.
well. So they are working with both Denise Johnson and with the art teacher at Trottier.
Yeah.
The artwork is in the process. I think in the next 2 weeks, final selections for the work will be made, unless like some of the students are creating work. What happens is the gardeners work either independently or in teams, typically of 2. It's usually teams of 2, and they jointly select a piece of art and then they work on constructing the arrangement inspired by the art. The past few years of this event, even when we did it in COVID and it was outside on the stone wall, outside of the on the sort of the cusp of the graveyard, like kind of like a garden, but it's the pumpkin walk, but we did it in the summer. But that was all inspired by books. We did books in
I
bloom
remember
for
it
the
was
past
awesome.
2 events. Yeah, so this is a return to the art and bloom concept where we're working with the students to exhibit their work and then have floral arrangements that are by that. So it's what we did the first couple of years I was here.
It's great. So I'm going to report back to the Friends on this because I think the Friends should have a table that night that's at least, highlighting with some materials, maybe even some, I'll talk to Diana. Maybe there's a way to have some books about art or gardening that people can walk away with. And then I just wanted to say, I think if my math is correct, that's the week that coincides with Library Staff Appreciation. And I'm so glad that you will have these amazing things to look at all week. That's just a really festive week for the library. So I think that'll be special.
Yeah, if anybody's not available to come Thursday, this is just a good public service reminder too. The way that the exhibit works is we have the artwork and the flowers on display through Friday and Saturday. Saturday afternoon, we recommend in the late afternoon so people can still come in the morning and the early afternoon, but the gardeners have the option to come and pick up the flowers. Some of the flowers do not last more than a couple days. They can also come and pick up their material on Monday. We do have to, because of the way that we're going to structure the exhibit in the stack. So this is very worth noting to all of you, is that for past events, we've removed public seating. So we can't move the blue chairs. Those are put at the ends of the book stacks. So people can still technically sit in the space. But what we will do is remove all of the wooden chairs because the tables end up becoming basically like freestanding exhibit areas. So all public seating will be in the Judy Williams reading room. I will announce this a week before so that people can plan on this. Because if we have tutors coming in and there's limited space, or there's people coming to study, this does get disrupted for the 3 days that we're doing the exhibit. So on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Monday, I work on restoring the seating. So that happens, even if there's still arrangements that need to be picked up, we start bringing the chairs back out and we start putting the tables back that we can. So that just gives you a rough idea of, I think many of you know this, many of you have been able to attend past events, but we will announce that to the public. This is unique in that we don't typically have to disrupt public seating, but we will for that. And then events that would have taken place in the main floor, we've moved to other areas of the library. So there is, Mariana's doing a monthly gaming after school program that's going to be in Eaton that week on the exhibit night. It's like before the exhibit starts, but we'll have to do that there because the main floor won't be available. It's a lot of work, and a lot of gardeners are helping, and they're all getting Cory and Sori checked. So I should also publicly thank them for that.
I have a quick question. The second bullet from the bottom on your director's report, that handout for town meeting, has that actually been completed?
No, I was kind of talking about that, David, is I think I might have Mariana and Kim Regan work on it
Yep.
and pull some of the statistics from the ERIS report, if that's okay. I don't know, no one seemed like super excited about a handout for town meeting. I can also just do the presentation. I don't have to work in a handout too, but
Well, if we do a handout, because you seem to think it was a good idea, to your earlier point about the friends, there are a number of fundraisers coming up that would be like another touch point for people. If they're grabbing this and they're looking at this stuff during meeting, they might put it right in their calendar or something like that. So that's just another use for it if you felt like there was a value to doing it to begin with.
I'd be happy to make space available for the friends. I think that would, again, I want the fundraisers that are being planned for the late spring, early summer to be successful. So I think trying to get the word out about it is going to help. And then we always make the handouts not everybody takes the handouts at a town meeting. So then I try to make the handouts available at the library. So that is a good opportunity to also have those available after, and then they can kind of live on. So it can be a dual purpose. So I might have to have Marianne and Kim coordinate with a member of the Friends, or maybe we can talk to you, Mary,
Happy
or I'm
to do that.
volunteering you, but we can
No, that's
also
fine.
work with another member of the Friends too. So, but that's a good idea. I think
I'll
trying
put
to
it on the
get
agenda for the
information-
Friends meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think getting information out about what the Friends are doing because they're ramping up stuff is a good idea. But that's pretty much it. Narcan is coming back. The Gorgeous Gardens 4-part series has been scheduled, so it's going to be every other week. After that ends, the Wednesdays are going to start happening with food truck nights. So we're kind of avoiding programming during those because the parking will be so bad.
And
So,
people will be across the street.
but I'm always excited about food trucks. Not gonna lie.
Do they get people into the library or just into our parking lot?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, obviously people are more here for the food trucks, but
Yeah.
we do get a lot of, if it's like a not nice or it's like colder or rainy, we find a lot more people hang out here. People don't eat in the library, which I appreciate. I'll say that. I'm probably creating my own problem this year because watch, they'll probably do
Yeah.
it this year. But
they come in for the bathroom use as well, right?
yes, that's
Yeah.
true because there are no portable bathrooms on.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised that's not required.
I
But
have
when you've
talked to
got little
Rotary about it.
kids, if I had my little kids with me, I would head into the library anyway versus a porta potty,
We're open. This isn't like Heritage Day. We are actively open when they're doing this. And if they come in for the bathroom, it's more likely that they'll stay and read a book or hang out. So I don't hate that part of it. And then we did, I think the first few years of the food trucks, they did have porta potties on site. And it was like people were just using the library, right? Like, because it was better. And then I've spoken with the cleaning crew and with John. It hasn't adversely been a problem in previous years. So again, I'm probably setting a tone for it becoming a problem this year, but like it hasn't in past years. So if it becomes that, I have told Rotary will reach out and we will have a conversation. So.
Before we move on from programs and exhibits, just back to the floral thing for a second, only because that is coinciding with Library Staff Appreciation Week. Not last year, but the year before, Ryan, you had made the bulletin board downstairs available for a little sort of like interactive or shout out to the
Staff members.
librarians.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I wondered, is that bulletin board going to be free again? Do you have something else planned there? I didn't want to step on any plans for it, so I just wondered if you had thoughts.
Yeah,
Depends
so
going on
right now it's the Empowered by Libraries.
Right.
It's the MBLC initiative.
Yeah.
Some people are using it to write nice messages about the library. In
Exactly.
March, it will be part of the Ramadan exhibit. So the
Perfect.
Ramadan exhibit's going to be upstairs, and then it will also be downstairs. Once Ramadan is over, I don't think there are any current plans to do it. So that bulletin board could be made available for that purpose again.
Good.
So I wanted to ask this group, because this month is Empowered by Libraries, and people are sort of writing in about what they love about the library. I wondered what this group thought we meaning, and I'm happy to take it on, we could take over the bulletin board with like a simple thank you and a beautiful display, and with Ryan's permission or whatever he feels is best, we could just sort of list the first names of everyone at the library. Or I wondered if you felt it was important again to have people leaving responses, which I'm always in favor of, but it does seem like it's kind of back to back with that right now. So I just wanted some group input on it and see what you all were thinking.
I'm lost.
Oh, sorry.
No. What?
Okay.
Other appreciation weeks, we had people write appreciative things to the library staff.
Yes.
Is this a whole separate thing?
Yeah, so there was a bulletin board downstairs that was set up so that people could write messages.
Right.
Like, I love story time with Miss Kim, and
Right.
then we would add it to the bulletin board.
Right.
There's one now that's similar from what, ALA, right, Ryan? Or
It's from the Mass
PLC?
Board of Library Commissioners. So they're running like a marketing campaign right now that's called Empowered by Libraries. So I can send you information about this. I actually don't, we've posted about it on social media, but the idea is that, like, what is your feel good story about your personal library? Like, my library helped me find a job. You know, my library is the place that I go to with my kids for fun on the weekend.
So what is
people
it?
are writing.
Okay, so what is it that Mary's proposing?
So I'm actually just looking for some feedback from all of you, because right now, because the Empowered by Libraries bulletin board is there with note cards that people are already writing
Yeah.
what they love about the library, which frankly often leads back to what they love about the staff, and they're putting it up there publicly. That's happening all month and is there. So I wondered, did you want us to recreate something like that in April, or did it, where it's interactive like that, or did we want to do some, like, just a simple, like, thank you in some way, and like listing the staff names in a pretty way? Like, is it more
So
decorative,
not
or
asking the
is it
public to write
interactive?
anything. So not asking the public to write anything.
Yeah, I was just looking, I basically, I was just looking for ideas and wondering what you all were envisioning for it this year, if you wanted something. I don't need to be inserting myself in it. I just know
Of
it's
course
coming
you
up,
should.
and
Yeah.
what?
Are you getting on the board now? Is it more general library or staff? Because that would make a difference, I think, you know?
It's
Yeah.
supposed to be more general library. It's
But what
supposed
are
to be
you
about how the
seeing?
library has changed your life, like
Okay.
in a personal way, like how the library makes you feel empowered is the campaign.
Yes, but what are you seeing? Are people sticking with that, or are they saying, you know,
To
this
be
is gonna
honest, there's
change my
been
life
more,
by what?
a lot of the early participation was from youth participants. So I don't think thematically it was fully understood what
Uh,
what it was supposed to be. So there was a lot of I love Miss Kim, I love Miss Kathy. We got a lot of that because it's 7 and 8 year olds doing it. So which is fine. I mean, that's how they are empowered by their library. It is, you could make an argument that they're similar. We are going to have a break because in March there's going to be the Ramadan exhibit. And then, I mean, I would also say this is one of the lower attended foot traffic months because of ice and snow. So in April, we're going to be doing a lot more programs. We're going to have Art and Bloom. We would have the ability to maybe get more participation from something like this. But also, you don't have to make any final decisions on the bulletin board now. I think doing something for staff appreciation, whether it be the same thing you did previously or something kind of new, is not a bad idea. I think we can make the space available for that.
Right. Okay.
And you can never have too much love. So either way, we do it. Are we on to the budget, right?
Yeah. Sure
Okay.
are. Any questions about it? I remember to update the number of the month.
thank you.
Except for
Yeah.
it says February 2024.
Okay, I forgot to update the year, but I did update the 8 so that the percentages were
Yes.
correct. I will change the year
Not
too.
yet
I'm
perfect,
sorry.
Brian, but coming close.
There's like 3 places that the year is on
Yeah.
the spreadsheet. So in my
4.
defense, I think some of them are updated and some of them are not. I think so. There's nothing really to report. We did experience a disruption in December. I can kind of tell you that in a way it was positive because we now diversify spending. I noted that in the director's report. We've been using a lot of other vendors in addition to our primary one, but basically the services have been restored and we're getting books normally again. So that has been positive. I mean, we were having trouble with Baker and Taylor doing auto processing, and because of this whole thing, they don't do that anymore. So that's great because they don't charge us 50 extra cents each time we order a book. Um, but I have nothing really to report. I will say that it is one of the month to month challenges, Janet, that I did not anticipate when I was just giving you numbers for the prior month, is that payroll often doesn't fall on the exact end of a particular month, right? So you are getting a little bit of either less payroll data, depending on the week it falls, or a little bit more. So like if a payroll fell on like February 6th, for instance, I would probably include that in that month's spreadsheet, even though it's a little bit into February, and sort of vice versa. If it ended on like January 28th, I just wouldn't have the last few days of the data. But I'm trying to put in as close as I can with the payrolls, if that
So
makes sense.
that's what explains the magnitude of the variances then in the top line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that there's always going to be a slight payroll variance, and this was years and years ago, before I think any of you were on the board. This was also a challenge when we were trying to do year-end stuff in June, is that we would try to guess how much money we were turning back to the town. And what I will tell you 10 years in is that we can't guess because sometimes people are out and then I have to ask part-time people to come in, and so the money kind of fluctuates. So I can give you a really good idea in June of a ballpark of what we're going to turn back. And usually I'm pretty close, but I can't give you an exact number until probably July 1st or July 2nd. Like it's that close. It's at the end. It's when I turn everything in.
But
I
do you
have a
feel like the
question. Go ahead,
Right.
Janet.
do you feel like the numbers are closer to reality doing it this way? The budget this way? Okay, good.
I think
That's
it's giving
what
a
we're
more
trying.
accurate, it's giving you guys a more accurate picture of how things are. And
Okay.
then, one of the questions is always like the dues line, the subscriptions line is so spent, but that's because a lot of them are annual bills that we try to pay early in the year. I can tell you, you can already see if you're looking at the expense report that there's not going to be a lot of extra money in our other line items. Like we've really already spent a lot down. We are holding off on office supplies a little bit, only because we're going to have to do toner purchases, and we are trying to wait until the end of the fiscal year as much as we can. But already I got to do another order for book covers, and then we've ordered like a few name tags for our new staff members, and they're all small expenses, but once we start doing toner and paper, that's where the bulk of the money in office supplies gets spent every year.
My question was, why are we still leaving the computer stuff and the water on there?
Oh, that is partially because I did not construct the pivot table, and I don't know how to safely remove them without messing up the spreadsheet. But Amy, you
Okay.
are inspiring me to learn how to do that or work with somebody who does
Curious.
know. We did add the subscriptions line a couple years ago, and what we had done is take an inactive line item and we just swapped out um the fund code and everything in there so that was it could be utilized. So I don't think to be honest, I don't think we're going to add any additional line items anytime soon. So those can be removed. I kind of left them in so that if we started a new line item, we'd have that available to us. But you're correct in that it looks weird that we have zero line items year to year. Also, I get the spreadsheet from the finance director, and he doesn't remove them. So I should ask him to do it as well.
Or could you, if you're worried about having a space available for a future thing, can you just, like wipe out what it says and just leave a
Yeah.
blank line?
Yeah, when the town gives us the budgets now, they're
Yeah.
locked. So I can't edit any fields except for the things that Brian wants me to,
Yep.
unless I talk to him. But I think Brian would be open to having a conversation. I also think we didn't know how the technology stuff was going to work. And Jay is very good at communicating to me about Jason Montillo, the IT director. He's
Yeah.
very good at communicating when there's like now we know there's money to redo the public PCs this fiscal year, but he didn't really know that until last week, to be honest, because he never knows until about the budget is halfway done if he's going to have any flexibility. And I think that's fair because the Wi-Fi project, he didn't know how much it was going to cost. He had to estimate. So.
Yeah.
But no, you guys, I mean, those are all good questions. I like doing the financial stuff. I feel like it's never exciting. We talk about it. We also didn't know water getting removed was also bizarre because for many years, Amy, we paid our own water bill, and having it go over to facilities was like a weird mid-year change I think it was like the year before COVID. So we know that that's working now. So I don't think we need a water line item in there. It made sense to keep the historic data from previous years too.
Yeah.
But at this point, they've been inactive for multiple years. They can be removed.
Should we do FY26 budget?
Yeah, so there's nothing to report. We were not called in with the larger departments this year to discuss our budget with advisory. I don't know from talking to Brian, I don't know that I'm going to have to present to advisory this year. I don't know what the status of that is. So I know that when I'm called before advisory, I always invite the board to attend with me. And I know many of you like that opportunity because we don't often get to meet with the members of advisory or talk to them about the library's budget other than this annual check-in. I will keep you posted, but the warrant, I mean, we're going to town meeting April 7th, and we're already talking about doing our handout and our presentation. We have one meeting before then. I don't know that they're going to ask. I think if our budget was over 5%, they would have wanted to talk to us. And I think because it's 4.5, they don't. But I don't want to state what their intention is. I think that they're still trying to work in particular with the school budget this year, that's been a focus. It's my understanding.
Do we have the child safe policy now?
Well, can I go back one
Sorry, Janet.
second to candidates night? What date are you looking at? Because I've been called to Oregon for babysitting.
Oh,
I don't.
We're
I
going to go
don't-
in June. What?
So it will be, because I have to double check when the town election is. Is that it's in May, right? Am I
Right.
correct? If you give me a minute, because I do think Beth put up when the election is, right? Give me a sec.
Because
Can't
April
find it.
24th looks like the most rational, but I think that's school vacation week.
Okay, so May 13th
Is
is when you vote.
okay.
So it would probably be, to be honest, Janet, either Thursday, May 1st or Thursday, May 8th. If I had to give you a
Okay.
ballpark date now.
Because as of right now, although we're negotiating, I won't be here May 1st.
Then it would be if you are our MC, which
Well,
I
if
would.
someone else wants to step up, they are more than welcome.
Well, we still have plenty of time to plan the event, but
Right.
honestly, I think May 8th would be better anyway, because that would still give Access Media enough time to put it up and
Yeah.
have people view it. But doing it too early, because sometimes people drop out of the race before. I mean, hopefully nobody would by the first, they would
Yeah.
drop out already. But again, we don't know if there's even going to be contested elections.
Right.
So if we just did a meet the candidates event, we could just host something on the 8th and
Right.
do like a little.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know whether people would be more interested or burnt out because the 10th is going to be the special town meeting at Neary. So,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. Okay.
But if you think about it, Janet, there'd be a lot to talk about at a candidates night, potentially,
True.
depending on what elections, right?
Well-
So
Yeah.
we could also potentially do it. I think that might be prior to food truck. Again, I really would like to Tuesday. There's so many board and committee meetings
Yeah.
that meet on Tuesday evening. And then Wednesday is the school committee meetings. So I've just learned over time, like everybody will tell you, they're like, candidates will say, I'm going away for the weekend and I'm leaving on a Thursday. I can't, if we schedule things on a Tuesday or Wednesday, then we are running into like other people who are actively running for reelection might be having a board meeting for their particular group. But also the proximity to the special town meeting also does concern me, because if people are meeting prior to the town meeting, there may be board and committee meetings on that Thursday.
But it's not going to be a full thing. It's just going to be on the school. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other one is everybody's meeting before the full town meeting. All the boards and committees meet, but not that one.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it. We could even push it back to April 24th, but I feel like that's too early,
Yeah, it
to
is.
tell you the truth, with the
It's
proximity.
school vacation week too.
Yeah, so that's not
But parents aren't the big, it's the seniors that are bigger attendees, but whatever. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean it to be a long thing. I thought we could do it. Okay.
No, that's okay. It's good to think about this though, because we need to plan it out. And then if anybody's traveling, I mean, it's good to say this now too, because if we have an idea of when it is, when people are running, they may ask. And then at least we have like kind of a ballpark. But Thursday is what I'd really like to set it at, if that makes sense,
that
for
makes
all the
sense.
reasons I stated. Yeah.
Yep.
Child safe?
Okay, so I've received additional feedback from Vanessa and from the police chief. So if you guys will indulge me for a moment, I would like to let you know what they both said. which I thought I had it open and I must have closed it. I'm close to it now, so I can tell you. Vanessa suggested adding and potential expense when you talk about assuming all liability. She also suggests that we add a contact person if any patron has a question. Both of those suggestions I thought were good.
Yep.
And I would like to integrate those in.
And you would be the contact person?
Yes, I think I'd like to also list Kim,
Yeah.
if that's okay with the board. And
Yeah.
then I can talk to Mariana, but if we want to include Mariana as well, I don't think having a third layer for this particular thing is bad. But if you want to keep it just to director, assistant director, that's also fine with me. I
think
can
it's
at least ask
important-
Mariana if she's willing. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
The more hours of operation that are covered, I think by having somebody there would be good. So if that makes a difference.
Or if I'm on vacation and Mariana is here when Kim isn't, that's sort of my thought
Makes sense.
process. So Chief Newell asked me a couple questions. He said, would it be worth adding in the policy that the Southborough Police will be notified if a child is unattended for a certain, and he qualified significant amount of time. So this was something I kind of went back and forth with Kim on, because we thought adding in something about the police was a little bit radical. But honestly, our police chief is suggesting, at what point did the police get notified? So in reviewing many of these policies, my instinct is to put something in there that's sort of along the lines of, if the child's parent or guardian cannot be located within 15 minutes, the library staff has the option to contact the police department to follow up.
That's a good way to put it, as an option.
Okay. Yes. So I kind of like that, because that leaves it open
It
depending on
also
what
leaves
staff.
you open to, you didn't have to do that, is
Yeah.
my concern. Like, I don't know, 15, I don't know, time wise, you might not want to be as specific, but
Could you maybe circulate wording for that?
Yep. And
I'd like to
then
give that a little bit of thought.
yeah, and then so I am going to work on this and get you a revised draft in between meetings, and you
Yeah.
can send me feedback. The town council's office hours were supposed to be this morning, so I was going to talk to him about this really before I got some of the additional feedback, but then it moved. He's going to be here next Wednesday. So if anybody is interested, I'm planning on going right at 10 next Wednesday to talk to him. What I think is that town council will also have feedback, both on the subjective wording, like that you brought up, Amy, which I thought is a good point. Like, should we be more explicit? Should there be a time frame or not be a time frame? And then honestly, the other suggestions I think are good. If we don't list the police department at all, is that okay? He can give better feedback on this, I think, than I can.
are librarians mandated reporters? Like teachers and medical
Good
professionals?
question.
That is a good question. To my knowledge, no,
Sorry.
but
Ouch.
I'm not aware that we are. Because do teachers get notified
Sorry
that they
about that.
have to be mandatory reporters?
Usually, yeah. I mean, as a teacher, as a all those things we're told, you're
And
Yeah,
mandated.
so-
do they, okay, when they
just-
have to report, I know it would be abuse and all that, but like neglect, I suppose, would be another one.
Yeah, neglect would be, I don't know how you want to quantify neglect as 15 minutes of disappearing,
Yeah.
I don't think it's 15 minutes. I think it would be longer, but I think hearing what the attorney has to say, it would be incredibly valuable in
Okay.
that sense.
I wouldn't, yeah. I don't know that librarians have enough contact to be a mandatory reporter, but.
I don't think so either, but I was just,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure, because that puts you in a
It's a
whole
good
different
question.
category.
Typically,
Brian,
if
what-
we,
So it does,
Yeah, sorry. A lot of people want to talk, sorry. Oh, David?
When we get this all shaken out, and maybe I've been walking by it and never noticing, but is there some value in having this posted, on the first
Yeah.
floor, on the second floor, or have I been walking by a posting of this ever before?
No, because we're in the draft form right now, David.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
know.
just, yeah, but
But
we typically do not post policies. I think you're kind of touching on a good point. I think maybe this one should be posted
Yeah.
and we should have it up in the children's room in
right,
particular, but we could
frame.
also
Yeah,
post it right when people walk in. So again, I think Kim will have feedback on how to continue to have the library be a welcoming environment.
yeah,
But I also think having this particular policy posted is good because you'll notice that the font on this was increased a little bit. So it's a little bit easier to read. So I was already thinking the same thing you are, David, which is when this is finalized, can we put it up so that people see it, not just on our website, but also at the library?
It gets rid of the "well, I didn't know" kind of thing. It's posted, it's
Well,
on.
they can still say I didn't know or I
Yes.
didn't read it, but then it's both available online and in person, so there's less excuses.
Mm.
And then I can point to it literally when we're
Yeah.
having an
I,
issue.
yeah, and I hope Kim may feel differently, but I feel like this supports a welcoming environment, knowing that things are going to be handled versus somebody running rampant or whatever,
When you're not posting it huge and making people sign it every time they walk in,
Right.
to me,
Right.
that would be unwelcoming. But letting,
Right.
I'd like to know what the rules are and the parameters are. And you feel more
Well, it's
comfortable.
also if you see something and maybe a librarian isn't seeing it and you're a patron and a kid is abusing other children and they don't seem to have supervision, it's nice to know that there's a policy and that if you report them, you're not just being a nasty person, you're saying, here's a problem.
Also, Kim is very supportive of having parameters for this.
Yeah.
We've had many conversations and she does see the value. I want to point that out. I don't mean to sound like she's minimizing
No,
it.
but I
I just
understand her concern. Yeah.
I think having like a wall of library policies, like when you first
Yeah,
walk in there,
be too
is
much.
probably not something she's going to be crazy about. And I understand that. But I think if we do one or two of the really important ones, she's going to be on board.
Yeah.
So sorry, Mary, I cut you off as well as
No,
David.
not at all. I'm thinking like all of you here, and I really appreciate the police chief's take on this. And but I also am remembering a past iteration of this conversation when Kim was involved and some hesitation about an escalation and by mentioning the police.
Yeah.
So I think whatever language you circulate, we can all put together so that everyone's satisfied with,
Right.
and it
Yep.
doesn't kind of lead with, I don't know. I know I don't want to be putting words in her mouth or misrepresenting her, but I feel like there was a tension expressed when we were talking about perhaps implementing like a more severe set of language. And I just want to make sure everybody gets what they
Yeah,
need out of this.
I mean, I will echo her hesitation. I feel like calling the police is a very extreme step.
Yeah.
And so I think the circumstances have to be there to
Yeah.
warrant that.
Yeah.
And I also, to sort of your point, Amy, about mandatory reporting, if we do think there's some sort of severe social
Yeah.
services issue with any of our patrons, be it any age, we do try to reach out to
Right.
our cohorts at the Youth and Family Services because I believe they are mandatory reporters and they have the skills and sometimes information that
Yeah.
could aid us. And then they have also, like in limited opportunities, they've made themselves available. This never happened with children. It's happened more with some of our at-risk adult patrons. And again, I don't want to go into details because
Yeah.
a lot of their stuff is confidential, but they're not on speed dial for this. It has to be kind of like somebody like walked here and doesn't have transportation, like, and they don't have a home to go to, like that's something where I may discuss with Sarah, like, is there anything we can do? Like, is there any resources we can give that person,
I mean, the other thing you can consider with the police as you're talking, I'm thinking like, who wouldn't call the police if a child's been sitting there for 6 hours with no
Yeah.
adult?
Right.
Yeah.
So, maybe we just like don't need it because common sense, all this goes back to common sense.
Right.
But if a parent wants to come at you when they've left their, 7-year-old at the library unattended for 6 hours, then they let them come because you would be neglectful not to call for help. So, that could be another way to bring it up to the attorney and see what he thinks. But
to be honest, I think when the staff are being told by a patron that their child is going to be left there, I mean, what I'd really like is for them to hand the policy over.
Yeah.
And be like,
Yeah.
this is what our official policy is on this. And you can read through that. Because again, I mean, I know I say this every time, but I can't stop a parent or a guardian from leaving a child here. I can't physically stop that from happening, right? So I think as long as we have our rules posted, like David said, we have it available, we can print it out and hand it to people. That's really where I'd like to go with this, so that it's clear. And then again, I mean, maybe there's a way to put the information about contacting the police in a gentle way, as gentle as we can make it.
Yeah.
Maybe the lawyer says it has to be explicit, which
Yeah.
might be his feedback.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully that never
particularly in that
happens.
situation where you're being warned that this kid's going to be left and you're trying to stop that, I think it's really important for the police to be mentioned in the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, Janet. So I can understand the hesitation to put the police in, but we may not have a choice here. So.
Right.
Okay.
And I will invite Kim to join us at the next meeting when you guys probably are ready to vote on the final form of this, so that Kim can also provide her feedback. I think I haven't been able to include her in every single meeting where we've talked about this, but I think we're getting to a place where it's almost done. So I'd like her to come back if that's all right with everybody here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's the one who deals with
thought-
it.
Didn't
probably.
we
So she's
decide a couple of years ago that she was always invited?
Yeah, she always
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
She almost always does a youth program
program.
at the same
Yeah.
time as the meetings
Yeah.
now. So, but yeah, she is. I would just like to say we need
this
you at
is
this one.
important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Director
Okay.
contract.
Okay, so I don't have anything to send you, but I did talk with Mark and Vanessa for probably a solid half an hour about this. And I got a lot of information from them. I have also gotten a lot of example contracts. So I think I said this last time, but I got even more of them now. And then I did get an example of one where professional development was highlighted as like something that's in the contract. And that's something I think I would like to talk to you guys about once we get there. So I'm making progress. I definitely will be ready. I think I want to say I'll have a draft by April.
Is this one of your performance goals? I can't remember. Were we
No,
talking
but
about
it
back
should have
then? No.
been. Yeah.
Yeah, it should have been. Okay.
Well, you're doing it thoughtfully, so that's important because, it's a big step. So
Absolutely.
But that's kind of
evaluation.
where I'm at. So I'm continuing to work on it. I am sorry that I still don't have anything drafted for you.
That's
But
a major thing to figure out, in my opinion.
yeah, I am learning a
Yes.
lot about it's also like I'm putting it together at the same time I'm learning more about the process,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But I did mention this to Marguerite, is that during my conversation with Mark and Vanessa, you guys may want to start thinking about designating a trustee representative, be that Marguerite or be that another one of you, to kind of vote on that, and then have that individual trustee talk to Labor Council and get feedback on the contract draft with Labor Council to bring it back to the rest of the board.
If you're looking for a volunteer, I'll raise my hand.
Okay. Well, not yet, because I think this
Yeah.
will be, this is a decision for you. I shouldn't be part of this. This really for a decision for you guys to make amongst yourselves. I shouldn't be part of it. I'm just saying that I think that's a good idea to kind of think about when we get to that point.
Sure. Thanks for letting us know, David. That's useful.
Okay.
Are we to your evaluation? Because we did town meeting, right? And
Yeah, I'm just, so I kind of put this as a reminder to me is that I like to start working on my self-eval pretty soon so that I can get you guys that information because there's only X number of meetings before you have to evaluate me. So I I think I should still do an evaluation this year, even if I do go under contract, because we set goals last year, and I don't know what happens as far as because I think I can still have an annual evaluation if I have the contract, but that's part of the process I think I need to figure out.
Oh, you absolutely have that.
Yeah.
There are people around who haven't been reviewed, who are under contract, and that's unconscionable to me. You know, that it's having a contract doesn't mean you don't have supervision anymore, or you shouldn't. You have the same parameters, get goals set, you know.
Well, and it's also I mean, it's so useful to do that kind of stuff to see where you are and what's expected of you. It's hard to be a good
Right.
employee too if you have no idea what's, you know.
It's communication, right?
Well, I also think it's just important to check in about what the board's expectations for me are, and then like goals we'd like to set for the next year. I think those are the things I get the most out of it. But it's also just trying to go back in the last year. Like
Yeah.
I will write in my self-eval that one of an accomplishment I'm proud of is completing and submitting the grant. And even though
Absolutely.
we
That
didn't
was
get
a
it,
lot of work. Yep.
that including the pictures with the captions, that document was 100 pages.
Yeah.
That was not an insignificant amount of my time or energy.
Oh.
Even working with staff members. I mean, there was late nights where I was at home working on that sucker.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
But hopefully we reapply. There can be a lot of new information, but cut and paste in the sense that you know what you're doing now, and you can fill things in hopefully
Mhm.
faster. So
yeah.
all right. Public comment.
We can see if Sam wants to raise his hand and say anything. There was a member of the public who joined in the attendees named Manu Chopra, but they left before we got to public comment. So I don't know if they were coming just to watch the meeting or they had something to say. I was gonna check, but they left a few minutes ago. Are you good, Sam?
Seems to be.
Okay.
And just a reminder, Mary brought it up that school or staff appreciation week starts on April 7th. If it's good for you, we can keep the same tasks. And I'll give you more information, but I just thought since we're talking about putting stuff in calendars,
Okay.
that will be in there. It'll be a busy week, but it'll be,
Yeah. Town meeting is Monday night.
yes, that's what I said. It'll be a busy.
Yeah.
Well, we can stagger the things too, and if it is too crazy, I think Amy, because in the past Amy's kind of been the coordinator,
Yep, I'm
so
happy
I
to-
think as long as everybody's okay with that, I think that's good.
Is
And
she okay
then-
with that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it
Oh, good.
in my groove. So
Yeah.
I'm like I don't mean to volunteer you. It's funny because Mary's familiar with staff appreciation because she kind of helped bring the friends into it a little bit, but this is actually
Thanks to
Mary's-
Amy.
Yeah, so it's actually Mary's first year as a trustee doing staff appreciation. So I think you can get together with Amy and she can kind of tell you.
We got it.
already done.
We got it.
Yeah.
We're
Sorry,
good.
first year you get all the awful jobs.
Yeah.
No,
I
we're
gave her Kim
good.
snacks because she has a kid, so she can not have to be somewhere at a certain time, so it'll
I
make it,
appreciate that, especially that week.
yeah, exactly, so. All right, is that it, Ryan?
I think that's enough.
Okay, I just checking. So somebody want to move to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
How about next meeting?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
at, so the meeting time that was just moved was at 12:14, just for the record. And then why don't you adjourn the meeting and I can tell you the projected next meeting date.
somebody second the adjournment?
Second,
All in favor? Yes, Donnie, aye.
Maybe I.
Ekberg, aye.
Cindy, I.
So-
So March 17th would be the third Monday, if you guys wanted to do that in March.
St. Patrick's Day.
So, I am one of the Woodward Scholastic Book Fair chairs that week and am not available during the day that week.
Clone yourself?
But I don't need to be there if you have quorum, so. And I can communicate with Amy about, or anyone about whatever's needed. So you don't have to plan that around me.
Well, for the record, there are 5 Mondays in March because of how that falls. So we could
No.
also,
Apologies, because I will also not be able to make the 24th if that is in
Okay.
the mix. I
I
have
wouldn't
to.
be able to do that one either. It's
how's
not
it
all on you,
looking?
Mary.
How's it looking for the 10th for people?
That works. Do you want to take the 10th and the 17th and check with Marguerite and Jane? See which is
I
better
will-
for them?
I would, and I know that sometimes Jane's not at the meeting and then the next meeting gets discussed and Jane explicitly can't do that meeting either. So I will say I made a solemn promise to Jane on the phone yesterday to make sure that when we confirm the next meeting that she could be at it. Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't we try the 10th and
Okay.
we'll kind of have the 17th as a backup, but I don't love that we already know Mary can't be there. So
Well, I don't love the 10th just because I'm going to have guests here. And
okay.
and if I have this in the middle of the day, then
Yeah.
everybody gets
You
messed up.
guys,
schedule.
would a Tuesday be better?
Why don't you check with Jane and Marguerite and see?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause I
if we
don't
get
need
5
to
out of
be
6, then we're
There
good.
either. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can also always do it later in the afternoon or at like 1. I know like 11, I feel like works for a lot of people, but we can always do it at like 12 or 1, depending. So,
Okay.
okay.
Have a
Thank
good end of your February, everybody.
You
Yeah,
too.
Thanks. Take
All
care.
Stay
right.
warm.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, be careful out there.
It's icy.
Yeah, one of my neighbors before this big ice storm fell in her driveway and broke her pelvis.
Oh,
Had to call 911 because her husband wasn't home.
Is she
Oh,
okay?
She's in rehab for 4 weeks or something.
oh, not good.